Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. So I've been working on this new scene in Blender, and it's set in a very dense urban environment with some of these probes that are floating above it, kind of like surveillance devices that are above the city, watching over it or keeping an eye on its citizens, something like that. Take for it what you will. But I wanted the idea of having a bird's eye view, an aerial view, such as this, with some sci-fi elements that are floating above it. And I've blocked these in very roughly just to get a sense of the composition. And these I'm actually modeling again in plasticity. So very early workings here, super early work in progress. But I wanted to share with you the method that I used in order to populate the city down here. Because at the very beginning, I was like, oh yeah, I can just create a bunch of cubes, place them all, and scatter them around. But that didn't seem to be the smartest way to go about it or the quickest way to go about it. So I had to use a different technique that I want to share with you today. So I'm going to pull up a new Blender scene just so we can start from scratch. Okay. And I'm going to go up here and change the tab to the geometry nodes tab. All right. We already have this cube. We can use this cube. But now we're also going to create a plane. I'm going to scale this up a little bit. Let's turn wireframe on just so we can see what we're doing a little bit better. Okay, so this grid is essentially going to be the plane in which the buildings will be populated in. And this cube here is going to be the buildings that it's going to be populated with. And now, as opposed to duplicating these one by one, moving them around, scaling them, and rotating them to get variety, we're going to use something called geometry nodes in order to do that for us and sort of simulate a cityscape. So we'll select this plane. We'll create new, and now we have these input and output nodes. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to Shift A, and we're going to look for a grid. Just make a bit of space here. Then I'm also going to look for a join geometry node. I'm going to connect the geometry node, join geometry node to the group output. Also connect this to there. I'm going to bring in a distribute points on faces. And what this will do, from what I understand, is it's going to create points on this plane in which this cube will be placed in. Just like that. And now we'll bring in the cube. So we're going to look for an object info node. Now we're going to look for this cube. Now we'll bring in a transform geometry node. to connect the geometry of the cube to the geometry of the transform geometry. And then now I'm going to bring in an instance on points. I will connect transform geometry to the instance input, and then the distribute points on faces of the grid to the points input. And now I'll bring this and connect it to join geometry. And now you can see we have these cubes that are populated just like that, just randomly, right? Now what I want to do is gonna play around with the scale, just because they're way too big right now. Let's see. Let's see what happens if we scale, just to give it a little bit more space. Actually, no, I think we can do that within here. Yeah, even better. So now it's populating procedurally, which is even better than manually doing it. Now we get this distribution of cubes. Alright, something like that. So now you can see kind of where this is going, how this can be very useful. Let's do a little bit more tweaking on the scales of these. Okay, so now what's happening is they're all getting scaled uniformly. So they have a nice randomized placement on the grid, but every time I want to adjust the attributes of the buildings themselves, it won't let me, and it won't let me do them individually. So I want to add a little bit of randomness to it. So I'm going to use this rotate or scale input here in the instance on points node. And I'm just going to simply add a random value to the scale. And now you can see right away that we have a lot more variety in the buildings that we have, right? I'm going to change the light type just to give it a little bit, give us a little bit of a better view. And then I'm just gonna tweak this a little bit more. Make it a little bit more dense. Yeah, so I think you get the idea. So using geometry nodes, I was able to create the cityscape within minutes, as opposed to me manually moving cubes around, scaling them, and, you know, creating some sort of randomized pattern. instead I was able to use this technique to create the cityscape very, very quickly. And now I have a template that I can use to randomize even more possibilities. And hopefully that's something you can also use for your own projects. But yeah, we'll be ending the video right here. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. And yeah, I'll be working on this scene and I'll be keeping you up to date with the latest updates. So see you around.